Miranda calls Leon to let her know the minister has brought a VIP guest to the palace. The dish is ready, but she's not sure which drink to serve. Leon double-checks if the guest is from Dongguk and recommends red wine. She tells the maid under no circumstances to serve pork and promises to double-check everything herself. The second maid is stunned by how much Leon knows. It almost feels like she can see the future. The heroine just smiles. She's actually been through this all before. Leon became a lifelong servant to the Hamel Empire's royal family. It's the only great empire on the entire continent. Their royal family carries guardian blood. So long as that's the case, no one can bring their country to its knees. In her past life, the sun consumed the entire empire with its heat, and Leon was the sinner who lit that fire. She was an illegitimate daughter, forced to endure humiliation and insults from her stepmother. Her father, Baron Ose Felber, wealthy enough to rival a count, didn't care one bit. All he cared about in life was money. He considered it the most valuable thing in the world. He'd openly declare he had no interest in anything useless, even if it was his own child. Oz treated Leona like just another item on his inventory list. She always thought she had nothing special. Not even her looks were anything to write home about. She knew her place and figured if she didn't act, her dad would just sell her cheap someday. So Leona snuck in on her brother's lessons to get some schooling. At night, she'd sneak out to run odd jobs for a few coins. But it wasn't enough to convince her dad she was worth investing in. Leona was on the hunt for side gigs to make some extra cash. She started selling old toys her brothers had outgrown. She also scrounged up discarded gowns from the Baroness, fixed them up at night, and flipped them for a profit. Her goal was to save enough to invest in a food brokerage and grow her wealth. So when she'd saved up, she handed her dad the purchase contract in payment. The Felber estate's land was barren and useless for crops, but Leona saw an opportunity and poured her money into it. She was sure her dad would finally recognize her after all her hard work. But Oz just sighed and tore the contract in half. Her skills meant nothing to him. The Baron called her a good-for-nothing kid and told her to stop fooling around. Leon needed to get ready for the wedding, since he already handled everything. When she heard he was going to marry her off to some merchant with 8 kids her age, Leon got furious. But when she saw her dad's icy stare, the heroine suddenly realized he just wanted to get rid of her. She was a bastard, no exceptional beauty or strength. None of it was her fault. Leon wasn't backing down. She offered her dad 50 times the original payment. When the greedy man heard about the cash, he perked up and asked where she got all that money. Right then, the heroine declared she'd become a servant and begged to be sent to the imperial palace. Everyone knew the imperial family only hired servants from noble families. Taking a lifetime servant vow meant Leon couldn't marry, wouldn't need a dowry, and her name would be erased. Since this way, Oz could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, dumping his unwanted daughter and getting cash. The heroine was hired into the palace soon after. At the time, the imperial palace was total chaos. The first prince, the heir, suddenly died of pneumonia. The second prince, who was recovering at the border, came back and took the heir title. The next year, he married the chancellor's daughter, who caused a major storm in the palace as soon as she arrived. Vioda Heliseon was a stunning beauty who had the emperor's favor. This ambitious mistress used her youth and beauty to rocket up to empress. Knowing this woman would never stop at what she'd achieved, Leona decided to stay close, ready to seize her own shot. One day, Vioda spotted someone had decked out the imperial throne with peonies. She thought it looked so stunning. She craved the same throne for her palace. The girl realized that such a decoration was a signal. Someone wanted to follow her, the peony palace's queen. Vioda scanned the maids in the throne hall, then asked who had left those flowers there. Leona stepped forward with a smile, explaining she picked peonies. They were the most beautiful blooms in the garden. Vioda studied the girl closely, then asked the emperor to hand her that servant. That's how Leona ended up in the Peony Palace, becoming the empress's right-hand woman. She wiped out all of Vioda's enemies through lies, backstabbing, and cold-blooded schemes. Then, Leona seized control of the imperial administration, turning the ex-mistress into the real boss of the inner palace. Vioda was grateful to the girl. Her sharp mind made everything run smoothly, but she decided to ask Leona for one more favor. Vioda revealed the crown princess was 3 months along at the time. Glaring with pure malice, she ordered Leona to abort the princess's unborn child. The heroine got her big break thanks to the empress's favor, and that sweet taste of victory? It was out of this world. She didn't have a problem with stepping on others to climb the ladder. This time, Vioda ordered her to sneak poison into the crown princess's palace. Pure cruelty. Leon tried to back out, saying the crown prince was already as good as gone. Why target a kid when the end's already written? Vioda thrived on certainty. She wasn't about to leave any loose ends. She wanted every last drop of royal blood erased. Poison was already in her hand. Sure, the prince was a political target, but he and his wife, good people through and through. The prince grew up outside the palace. He hated the rules, but on the battlefield, a war hero. The crown princess treated everyone with kindness, no matter how low they stood. Leon knew poisoning the unborn child could hurt the mother. She didn't want any part of it. Vioda saw the doubt in her eyes, but refusal wasn't an option. After delivering the poison, the heroine prayed to the gods to stop it. The poison killed the crown princess, but the child survived, miraculously. When the girl died, Vioda started plotting the prince and his heir's downfall. Even the emperor didn't lift a finger for the dying child. The kid who was supposed to be blessed got left behind by everyone. Leon was tormented by guilt and kept showing up to take care of the child, sneaking a wet nurse in. The baby's dark green eyes, just like his dad's, stared up at her from the crib. The weight of his mother's death guilt was crushing her, heavy as sin. She swore to that kid she'd always have his back, no matter the cost. When the heir turned 5 months old, the empress made her son the crown prince and pushed aside the second prince. The deposed prince got exiled to a distant region and vanished without a trace. Around the same time, the empire started to crumble under the weight of ruin. The once wise emperor suddenly lost his grip, turning into a puppet controlled by the empress. Vioda, greedy as hell, was too busy squeezing the life out of the people, and her rule was full of weird decisions. She pushed through reckless tax policies, surrounded herself with sycophants, and the people's anger was about to boil over. The citizens staged another protest outside the palace, even with the death penalty hanging over them. Leon thought it all was fishy. For all Vioda's greed, she was smart enough not to make such reckless mistakes. Since she made her son the crown prince, she stopped paying him any mind. Something was definitely off. That same day, a priest ran up to Leon with urgent news about the imperial heir. That's when the heroine found out the kid had died at 1 year and 3 months old. The child was buried under an old tree, where Leonia went with the priest to grieve. The man tried to calm the maid, saying the heir only lived this long because of her. His words made her pain worse. She asked if they'd found the deposed prince, but got a no. When an imperial heir dies, they bury him at the royal cemetery and fly a black flag at the residence. But the deposed prince's heir, forgotten by everyone, was given a different fate. Even in death, he was denied a place to rest. So Leonia buried him under the tree in the palace garden, where the crown prince loved to sit, hoping he'd feel warmth like his father's embrace. That was the end of it. Allied forces surrounded the gates of the imperial palace, killing everyone in their path. As Leonia, power-hungry and stained with blood, stood frozen in shock, the empire crumbled around her. If she'd known it'd end like this, she'd never have lived in greed's grip. Standing under that same tree at the little heir's grave, the heroine made a vow to herself. If she ever had to live this life again, she'd never hurt anyone, ever again. If Leonia got a second chance, she'd dedicate it to the little heir, protecting and raising him. The moment she spoke those words, the rebels found her and took her life. The heroine wakes up drenched in sweat, trying to figure out where she is, convinced she's in hell. Her head is splitting. She scans the room and spots Miranda peacefully sleeping on the next bed. Miranda's been her roommate since she was just a trainee maid. That's the exact room where the heroine was placed when she first arrived at the palace. The bell rings, and by counting the chimes, Leonia realizes it's 5 in the morning. She leaps out of bed and bolts outside barefoot in just her nightgown. She hears calm chatter and is shocked to realize everyone's safe. It finally hits Leonia that she's alive too, just like the others. The maids scold her for being out like that. Getting caught would be a disaster. Ignoring their words, Leonia asks what day and year it is. When she hears the answer, she freezes. The horrifying events that happened yesterday won't happen for 4 more years. Thanks the maids for helping and rushes off. She has something else to check. She runs to the tree where she buried the little heir. But no matter how hard Leonia searches, there's no trace of the grave. She starts thinking it was just a dream. But it's hard to believe when everything felt so real. The heroine feels such a sharp pain in her stomach. Her legs nearly buckle. She lifts her nightgown and spots a deep scar on her stomach. That's the exact wound they gave her at the very end. The one that killed her. There was only one explanation. Leona had come back to the past after dying. Crown Prince Carmen Rude approaches the tree at that moment. She addresses him by title, and Carmen suddenly quips, "Even though I'm not officially named yet, it sounds pretty cool." Leona realizes she's right in the middle of when the old prince died, and this one just came back. Carmen spots the hole behind her and teases, "Did you go ahead and bury treasure in my garden?" Leona's scrambling to think up a decent answer. Their meeting's so sudden and weird. He's not buying whatever story she's about to sell. With no better idea, Leona just bows and stammers out an apology. Carmen smirks. The truth is, he couldn't care less what she was up to, so he just waves her off where she belongs. But before she goes, Carmen adds, "You're not stepping foot in my garden without permission. Got it?" Leona, shaking like a leaf, promises she'll never forget. As she leaves, Carmen takes his seat under the tree. Same spot he always claimed in his past life. Back then, he was the Empress's enemy, and therefore Leon's too. Standing up to him wasn't easy. Carmine had massive strength and an aura that crushed others. He had an unshakable will to repel enemy attacks. Because he was there, the Empress sensed the threat and threw everything she had at him to take him down. Soon, when Vioda invades the palace, they'll overthrow him again. And when that happens, the Empire will collapse too. The heroine aches in her heart. She can't just stand by and do nothing. Knowing this, she suddenly remembers the Crown Prince saved the country once before, winning a war. Leon realizes that if she can protect Carmine, she might save not just his son, but the entire empire. Now she understands. Her return to the past is a chance the gods gave her. It doesn't matter what it takes. Even if it means risking her own life, she'll protect His Highness. The heroine returns to the room fully dressed and ready to go. Miranda rushes over, demanding to know where she's been all morning. She was worried Leon would miss the sunrise meeting. The heroine tells her friend not to worry. She had something to take care of. Miranda eyes her carefully. It's like Leon's not quite herself, but she quickly pushes the thought aside. They need to hurry. Today's their official assignment. Miranda can't wait to find out where they'll be assigned. The heroine tosses the box onto the bed and storms out of the room. Miranda can't believe how casually the girl treats the memory of her own mother. Leon doesn't turn around, saying everything's fine since the box is empty. The girls step into the servants' backyard. The vibe here is exactly how Leon remembers it. Restless and tense. Miranda's nerves are on edge too, and she spills her feelings to her friend. The girl insists Leon will get a decent assignment because she's a lifelong maid, while temps usually end up in grueling departments with endless chores. The heroine grins, telling her friend to chill, certain everything will work out. Older maids gather in the courtyard, wearing vests in wild colors. Though the others don't get why they're dressed like that, Leon knows the palace uses uniform color to show servant status. Department leads wear orange vests, and full-time staff stick to white. Trainee maids skip the vests, but tie their belts at the waist. Only the head maid Odell, who runs and oversees the staff, is allowed a light blue vest. The woman declares that being a maid is an official imperial rank. Leon cringes as the stubborn Cora drones on about the heavy responsibilities maids now carry. Rookies are officially assigned to their positions in the palace 2 months after they start. During the ceremony, they're given a white belt and a maid's badge, then sent off to their assigned departments. In her past life, Leon was assigned to a department far from the power center, but she bribed her way into the Emperor's palace using a pendant from her jewelry box. Senior maid calls Leon to step forward. She greets Hana, even though she already visited her room this morning. In her past life, the heroine learned you could change your assignment with a bribe. But this time, her goal isn't power. She wants to protect the Empire. Miranda can't believe she's been assigned to the Crown Prince's palace. She's spilling her excitement to her friend, still not sure this is real. Leon smiles. Now they'll be together until Miranda leaves the palace, since she got assigned there too. Even though her badge is a hasty, flimsy job, it'll work for the start of her new life, where she'll slowly change her fate. Long ago, on the continent, giants with 2 pairs of arms and skin as tough as rock roamed. They hunted people and devoured them for sport. Humans, burning in torment, screamed for the gods to help. When the gods heard their cries, they chose a guardian to save humanity. He gifted him 5 mighty black lions and a gleaming white sword that could slice through giant hide like butter. While the guardian battled the giants, a powerful sorceress fought at his side. By the 100th day of brutal combat, exhausted and covered in blood, the guardian took a deadly blow. The sorceress, who loved the guardian, leapt into the lake, giving her life as a sacrifice. At that moment, the entire lake turned crimson, and to everyone's shock, the fallen guardian rose again. A crisp, invigorating fragrance rolled across the continent, breathing life back into the dead land and draining the giants of their strength. Weakened by the scent and the sword's power, the giants fell back, retreating to the land of ice. The guardian then built a towering wall up to the sky, ensuring those giants would never set foot here again. Over time, his descendants built a palace by the lake and founded the Hamel Kingdom. Miranda and Leon arrive at the Crown Prince's palace, but the servants' faces gave nothing away. No hint of welcome for the newcomers. One of the maidservants waves the girls forward to report their arrival to the head of housekeeping. Everyone files into the office to pay respects to Lady Sun, the palace's chief housekeeper. Miranda and Leon bow to the woman, but she doesn't even turn around. An awkward silence hung in the air. Junior servants couldn't straighten up until their superiors acknowledged the greeting. Lady Sonia suddenly claims her lack of virtue led in disgraceful, unworthy people into the Crown Prince's palace. She probably thinks the girls got in by bribing someone. One maid argues Lady Sonia can't be to blame. Everyone knows she's always been fair-minded. She says if anyone's at fault, it's the crooks who pulled the strings. Miranda's clueless about what's going on, but Leon just smirks. The idea of Sonia's justice is hilarious to her. In her past life, this woman was a sneaky snake who sold the prince's secrets to Viot's right-hand man, Leon. She was known for her cruelty. Rumors said she tortured maids, stole their pay, and secretly punished her personal maid. Sonia calls over Ellie, and Leon recognizes her as the girl who used to be the head maid's personal assistant. The woman orders the new recruits out of her sight. Ellie hesitates but hurries to obey. She whispers for the girls to follow, to teach them the ropes. They head to the prince's back garden, where Leon and Miranda will be cleaning every day. No roll call, just show up each morning and get to work. Miranda looks around, stunned they'll be cleaning this whole place by themselves. Ellie was about to leave, but Leon suddenly stops her to ask a question. The heroine figured the back garden is staff's responsibility, not the maid's. She doesn't get why they're being assigned to this area, but Ellie can't explain it. Leon always knew Ellie was a timid, weak, and overly cautious servant, crushed by Sonia's taunts. She covered up rumors to win the head maid's favor, but ruling through fear just replays the past. So Leon decides to be the first to change. She smiles and asks Lady Ellie to explain the situation. After all, as newbies, they don't know the palace's internal affairs. Ellie, clearly more at ease now, says the second prince has returned to the palace. Since he's about to become crown prince, he moved into the palace early and brought his horse. She remembers the crown prince brought his precious horse to the palace in her past life. This horse was way bigger and stronger than usual, aggressive, and often destroyed the garden, putting servants' safety at risk. The servants' department likely protested caring for the horse and refused to handle the back garden. Ellie says that's when the new recruits, accused of corruption, arrived. That's why Lady Sonia dumped the task on them. Miranda's shocked and has no idea what corruption Ellie's talking about. But Leon thanks Ellie for her thoughtful and helpful explanation. Deciding she might have said too much, the girl hurries off, claiming she has errands. The heroine notices the thoughtful look on Miranda's face. She says she was thrilled to get assigned to the Crown Prince's palace, but now the hardest work has landed on them. But her friend argues there's probably some misunderstanding going on. Miranda's a temporary maid whose dream is to return to her hometown with a stipend and have a beautiful wedding. Yet in her past life, she got dragged into Leona's power struggle, was framed, disfigured, and tossed in jail. The heroine secretly helped her escape, gave her cash, got her out of the palace, and never saw her again. In this life, Leona wanted to keep Miranda close and protect her, but so far she's only causing the girl trouble. As the heroine was thinking this over, her upbeat friend decided not to mope. After all, they weren't kicked out of the palace yet. She tells Leona to work hard, and the misunderstanding will probably blow over on its own. Her words make the heroine realize she can't just quit if she got a second chance to start fresh. If she wants to protect the Crown Prince, first she needs to get rid of Sonia, who's selling his intel. Plus, ousting the corrupt headmaid would set a precedent for others, letting her and Miranda gain the upper hand. Miranda finally wraps up her morning chores, which took forever. The girl panics she'll miss lunch if she leaves now. But Leon had everything sorted out and hands her friend bread and apples she got by whining to Zelda. Miranda's happy. 9 days since they got stuck in the prince's palace, and they've had 0 time to catch their breath. Running the garden was brutal, and they had to work from sunrise to late at night, with no food just to finish the work. Plus, the power struggles among the senior maids meant they often ended up doing chores that weren't even theirs. Leon was thinking about how to get out of this brutal grind, so she headed straight to Zelda, the head of the maids department. She gave the woman a smile, introduced herself, and asked for a few minutes to chat. Visited Zelda day after day, helped out with chores, even let a few tears fall. That woman's always been way too soft, easy to play. Leon used to think people like that were clueless and pathetic. But if not for Zelda's kindness, she and Miranda would have been starving today. Looking back now, Leon realizes she was the one who was clueless and pitiful all along. Suddenly, the girls hear a rustle nearby and turn to see Crown Prince Nacha's horse. Miranda groans. This horse is at it again, digging up the ditch. The horse has been refusing the water they give it, and instead digs channels in the garden to drink from. And in the process, it tramples flowers and grass, turning everything into a mess. The garden's slowly becoming a disaster zone. No matter how much time the girls spend tending to it, the garden's trashed again by morning. They don't get a break. Miranda sighs. Guess we're back to square one. Leona heard that Nietzsche only follows the Crown Prince. 3 servants who tried feeding or watering her ended up hurt. Can't force tame this beast. We gotta adjust the environment to her. Realizing the garden clearly isn't right for Nacha, an idea hits Leona like a lightning bolt. Nacha's from the northwest. Her nature's not built for central region plants. Heroine jumps up, already knowing what to do. "I'll be right back, Miranda," she promises. The first Hamel emperors staked their claim over the continent using the Guardian's scent. In those lands, scent was the mark of authority. But over time, it faded, and power vanished with it. So later, emperors tried replacing the scent by training specialists and hoarding their skills. That's why the Perfume Research Institute was based solely at the Imperial Palace. That's where the heroine went to meet Imperial perfumer Phil Magoo. His skill was so off the charts, they knew he'd one day be crowned king of perfumery. Phil Magoo stayed far from politics and power. His whole life was about the art of scent. Confident someone like him would help, Leon politely introduces herself to the perfumer. Leon says she heard rumors about Magus traveling across the continent, so she came for advice on the northwest continent. When Leon asks Phil if he's heard of the Crown Prince's favorite horse, he catches on to where she's going with this. Leon shares her suspicions that the plants in the Crown Prince's garden aren't suitable for his horse. Phil is impressed by Leon's insight connecting the horse's aggression to the plants. However, finding northwest continent plants here will be tough. The environment is way different, but the Imperial greenhouse, well maintained as it is, could do the trick. Phil has seeds from the northwest border region. A few of them are pretty hardy. He's confident the horse won't reject these like it does the southeast plants. Leon's words also jogged Phil's memory about the horses from that area. He hands Leon a vial of dried leaves from the Katago region. Horses from that area have an acute sense of smell. These herbs' scent is used to train them. Phil offers her the vial. Since she works in the garden, she'll be dealing with the second prince's horse often enough. If you stuff the dried leaves in a cloth and wave it around, the horse will listen. Leon's pleased she not only got the plant seeds, but also the leaves that can cheer up Nachi. Just then, she sees the horse charge at one of the servants again. The animal looks more agitated than usual for some reason. To find out what's up, she sprints over to Miranda. Miranda says that while Leon wasn't around, a servant approached Nacha to feed her. But the horse locked eyes with him in a way that froze him in fear. He dropped to the ground, and the animal looked like it was laughing. The servant went ballistic, tossed the bucket of feed at Nacha, and chaos erupted. Leon hands Miranda the plant seeds and tells her to move back. She's dead set on taking control and handling this herself. Like Phil taught her, she wraps the dried leaves in a cloth and waves it in front of the horse. Watching it all, Miranda's trembling in fear for her friend. When the horse rears up in front of Leon, she slams her eyes shut. Miranda cautiously opens one eye and freezes in shock. Her eyes can't believe the sight. Servants swarm Leon, wanting to know who the girl is that managed to calm the second prince's horse. At that moment, Chief Steward Gerard and his assistant Bartz step into the garden, drawn by the commotion. To figure out the cause, Crown Prince Carmen Rudel strides in behind them, expression stormy. He watches in silence for a while as Leon strokes the calmed horse. The prince orders Bartz to report what happened here. He listens carefully to the story of how the servant threw feed at the horse, agitating and enraging the animal. Turning to Leon, the prince asks if it was truly her who calmed Nacha. Squeezing a cloth in her hands, Leon bows and confirms the prince's words. Carmine orders the girl to lift her head and asks for her name. When Leon introduces herself, the prince praises her for calming the horse and cleaning up the mess. He figures the maid probably wants a reward and offers her the chance to name her desire. Leon hadn't even considered that an opportunity would come so fast. If she were the old Leon, she'd have asked for gold and jewels. But this time, she's going to live differently. So she politely asks to be assigned as personal attendants to His Highness, along with Miranda. The prince is stunned by the girl's desire to serve him personally. He hesitates, but Leon insists there are no other requests. Just as the prince is about to agree, Sonia suddenly appears in the garden, ready to stop this. She claims that new recruits who've just entered the palace can't serve His Highness directly without completing their training. Sonia insists there are rules and procedures for promotions. If the prince ignores them and appoints new maids as his personal assistants, it'll break protocol. So as the head of staff, she can't approve their promotion. But Carmine suddenly asks the woman, "Who owns this palace?" Sonia doesn't get where he's going. He steps closer, eyes blazing, and repeats his question. The woman nervously answers, "He is, Your Highness." As the owner of not just the palace, but her too, Carmine doesn't see the need for her to approve his decision. So he snaps at the maid to shut up and get somewhere he didn't ask for. Then, the prince tells Gerard to grant Leonis's request and assign the girls as his personal attendants. The maids thank Your Highness. Meanwhile, humiliated Sona still stands there, head down. The scene shifts to the Crown Prince's palace, in the meeting room for the staff and maids. Joining the meeting, Bartz notices the tension in the room is off the charts. He tells his buddy, "This is all because of the newbies who asked the prince to make them his personal maids. Your Highness is already handling state affairs, prepping for the throne. His schedule is brutal. Originally, the prince was supposed to have 15 to 17 servants assisting him, but and Your Highness hates crowds. So he cut his entourage down to 3 attendants and 1 maid. The current attendants already have limited ability to serve him. And now, with the new maids, things are getting even tougher, so complaints are starting to pop up. The prince can't fire the girls because he doesn't go back on his word. The existing direct maids are pushing back against this. But even Sonia, the head maid who's already been warned, and Gerard, the chief chamberlain, haven't reacted at all. Gerard knows the prince won't back down from his decision, even if he personally asks to reconsider. He's served the imperial family for 32 years, but he still can't read the prince's mind. At first glance, he might seem generous to his subordinates, but the truth is, serving him isn't exactly a walk in the park. Even though he spent most of his life outside the palace, the prince managed to achieve impressive results without showing even a hint of struggle. Rumors about Carmine's exceptional nature say the first prince's death was the god's way of making the second prince the real protector. Now he's personally picked a maid to stay by his side, and Gerard can't even begin to guess what's behind that decision. He tells the maids their duty is to dedicate themselves to the prince's will, so there won't be any schedule changes, and he won't accept any objections. According to Gerard, they'll follow the prince's orders and keep a close eye on the maids, Leon and Miranda. If any flaws are found in their work, the prince will be asked to reconsider his decision. According to legend, the guardian who defeated the giants spent his whole life in solitude by the dead sorcerer's lake. The sky god wanted the guardian to have a successor, so he sent him a blue falcon. The guardian threw the bloodied falcon into the crimson lake. The water disappeared, and a baby with the guardian's scent showed up at the bottom. That's why the emperor's symbol in the empire is the white sword, and the crown prince's symbol is the blue falcon. There are knights who wear the blue falcon emblem. They're part of the crown prince's personal guard unit with the same name. The knight smiles and tells Leon, "I'm counting on you." But Leon stares at him so intensely in silence that it makes him uncomfortable. In her past life, Leon was the Empress's aide, so she never got along with the Blue Falcon unit. As soon as the knights saw Leon, they'd clench their teeth in anger, sometimes even threatened her. The standout member of that unit was the guy standing in front of Leon now, Deputy Commander Casey. The knight smiles and says he's heard about Leon's amazing stunt from yesterday. Even though Casey says a lot of his guys are scared to go near Nacha, Leon just says it was luck. Casey says luck's part of the skill set. Leon was promoted to personal maid so fast, it's probably a record. Casey tells the girl to take a look at the swordsman training on the range. She turns around and spots the prince training himself. Captain Glenn's lost to his highness 8 times straight. And there, in front of everyone, he loses for the 9th time. Casey notices the prince tripped Captain Glenn and can't help but laugh, wondering where he learned such a cheap move. Leon notices how smooth his tongue is, but his eyes burn bright, like someone who's chasing a truly worthy cause. She tries to remember what her own eyes looked like. The memory's not exactly unforgettable, so Leon just lets out a heavy sigh. Leon calls Miranda over to work, but notices she's equally starstruck by the prince. Leon steps up to his highness and asks to fix his clothing. Carmen turns to Glenn and declares since he won, his personal guards are cut down to 1 from now on. The prince is not taking any objections, so the captain meekly agrees. Bart steps onto the training ground to inform his highness the emperor moved up the audience time. They need to head to the palace right now. The prince tells Leon to feed Nacha in that case, but she's not sure if she'll get away with it. Carmen tells her not to worry, saying the horse liked her scent and will obey. He whispers to Leon not to start another secret treasure hunt there, just to get back right away. He gives her a smile as he leaves, and it makes her stomach twist that the prince still remembers what happened. Just as his highness said, Nacha took the food from Leon's hands. Leon suddenly spots the staff in charge of the feast, chatting about how the steward Gerard stepped out for a bit. Hader is among them. She was a court servant long before Leon and Miranda. Normally, palace maids handle the feast, but since these girls are new, Gerard's got the staff covering for now. Leon just doesn't get why it's Hader in charge now. She's sure something's definitely off here. Hader walks into the prince's antechamber with a tray of snacks, smiling as usual. Bartz is baffled why she's here after hours. She says she couldn't rest easy worrying about the newbies. But when Bartz tells Hader to serve the tea, she says it's the personal servant's job. Hader passes the tray to Miranda and orders her to get the snacks to his highness fast. Leon suddenly stops them, ignoring Hader's complaints, and yanks the teapot lid to check the contents. The heroine's suspicions just confirmed. She glares at the maid. She's not sure serving a drink like this to the guest is a good idea. Hader's angry about the accusations that she added something to the tea. Bartz carefully checks the teapot and spots the milk that got added. Though some folks love black tea with milk, the guest in the receiving area isn't one of them. Leon knows this guest is a real stickler and despises anything that messes with the drink's flavor or color. All sorts of guests come through the palace, and remembering their preferences is the maid's top job. Hater tries to defend herself, saying she didn't know the financial advisor was in the receiving area. The heroine thinks her excuses are pretty weak. No one specified who the guest was. Bartz gives Hater a cold stare and says he'll report this to Gerard. The girl tries to argue, but the Chamberlain's assistant orders her to pipe down and wait for a verdict. Since the guest's drink needs replacing, the heroine suggests making fresh tea. The guy decides to trust Leon and assigns her the job. After a bit, the girl comes back to the receiving room with the freshly made tea on a tray. Gerard greets her there. He's already been filled in on the recent chaos. Leona apologizes and asks if it's okay to serve His Highness the drink she made. She says it's cold mint tea, the kind they serve in the western regions. Gerard always thought the prince hated tea, since he'd never touched the cup they offered him. So now the Chamberlain decides to personally hand over the tray to His Highness. When the man walks in, the guest greets him with obvious relief. He's been waiting forever for something to eat. The prince reluctantly takes the cup, mutters a thanks, and takes a sip. Gerard watches the prince's face like a hawk. Every twitch, every flicker of emotion. As soon as the Chamberlain leaves the antechamber, Leona leans in, desperate to know. Did His Highness like the tea? Gerard pauses, then drops the bomb. He's appointing her as the prince's personal attendant. Leona straightens up, vowing to serve His Highness with unwavering loyalty. From that day on, the Crown Prince's antechamber felt like paradise. Everyone worked only when they were supposed to. Miranda sets the table. Assuming wine and herbs are all they'll need, wars have been dragging on in the Empire lately. But then she spots it. Leona's brought out something weird again. Turns out, our heroine tracked down dates from the western regions. Bought them retail in the capital. Even though Miranda's baffled Leona always brings His Highness weird stuff, Leona's sure the prince loves it. Right now, Carmine walks out of the bathroom, towel drying his wet hair. As he settles into the chair, the heroine lets him know she's got wine and snacks ready for him. Tomorrow's a big day, so she went with light snacks to make sure the prince can rest easy. Carmine eyes the dish of dates on the table and asks if she made these too. Leon says they're healthy little bites she thinks pair well with wine. The prince remarks that she's surprisingly spot on with his preferences. The maids start to bow out, but Carmine tells Leon to stick around. As Miranda exits, the prince tells Leon to come closer. Leon obediently steps up to his chair, and Carmine tells her to hold her chin up. Out of nowhere, the prince says that even though things are calm now, he wants her to feel at ease here. Since Leon arrived at the palace, things have gotten a lot easier. Carmine doesn't feel so alone anymore. The prince offers to grant any wish, but she says he's already given her what she wanted. When Carmine asks if that means Leon wanted to be near him, she nods. She wants to be near His Highness, and that's all she needs. He stares at Leon in silence for a moment, before declaring he understands her feelings and letting her go. Wishing the prince a peaceful rest, the heroine leaves his chambers. Alone now, Carmine grabs a date from the plate, muttering to himself that Leon's behavior just earned her even more respect. He turns left, asking, "What do you think, Jahangun?" A tall blonde, with eyes as cold as ice, appears in the room like a ghost. Jahangun says she doesn't look like a liar. Carmine agrees. But that's exactly why it's giving him the creeps. How does someone so young and green stay that calm? Plus, Leon's got his preferences down to a T, and it's starting to creep Carmine out. Jahangun tells the prince to chill. Results on the girl will be in soon. Carmine smirks. Of course His Highness had to order an investigation on this too. As Leon exits, Miranda dashes after her, worry all over her face. Leon catches the other servants listening in. She tells Miranda the prince gave her a shout-out for the job well done. Loud enough for the whole room to catch wind of her success. Leon always knew the prince would be sniffing around. To help him adjust to the palace, she used the experience she'd gained before. It was like a debt from a past life. But Carmen suddenly offered to grant her wish. Leona didn't expect him to test her like that. The Hamel Empire didn't have many heirs, so emperors kept lots of concubines to keep the bloodline going. But the empire's divine spirit wasn't on their side. They only ever had one son. Since the guard's scent vanished completely 100 years ago, the number of descendants somehow went up a bit, but there were still too few. So here's Carmine Rudel, who inherited the sovereign king's power, kneeling before the emperor. He vows to wipe out the heretics threatening the empire and dedicate himself to finishing the continent's unification, no matter the cost. The current emperor had dozens of concubines, in addition to his official wife, the Empress. But he only had 2 kids, the late crown prince from the Empress, and the current one from a concubine. When the first prince suddenly died, the only one left who could take the throne was Carmen, so the emperor declares him the crown prince, set to take the throne after him. Leona watches the event like the other servants. Then the servants swear their loyalty to His Highness and promise to protect him until he ascends the throne. After the ceremony, Carmen asks Leona if she's readied his horse for his departure. The heroine had already fed His Highness and had him all set by early morning. The prince is giving Leon orders when the head maid Sonia walks over with the other maids. Sonia suggests His Highness take a little break before the next meeting. The maids swarm the prince to congratulate him, and Leon notices how exhausted he is. Carmen really hates too much attention or socializing, but for some reason, today's prince, usually so cold, is giving everyone this special warmth. Leon's caught off guard. This side of Carmen is unexpected. He's usually strict and rough around the edges, but that friendliness doesn't last long. Carmen barks at everyone to clear out and let him rest before the next meeting. As he heads to his quarters, the prince snaps at them to leave him be until he comes out himself. When the door shuts behind him, Sonia suddenly turns to Leon. She declares there's plenty of help on hand, and Leon's not needed. But since Leon's got time to spare, Sonia gives her the chore of washing the dorm's bedding. In response to Leon's confusion, Sonia quickly explains it's a holiday. Everyone needs to be spotless and in order. Since they're serving His Highness again tomorrow, Leon's stuck doing the laundry solo today while the others are busy. Miranda volunteers to help, but Sonia's got no doubts. Leon can do it on her own. After all, Sonia points out, Leon's proven she's trustworthy with the prince. Laundry's a piece of cake. She doesn't hesitate for a second, takes the challenge head on and vows to do it right. Leon slips into the maid's room, scans the space carefully, grabs an inkwell from the desk, dumps it straight onto the bed, gathers the bedding, heads out to the courtyard, knows her target'll show up here in about 10 minutes. Decides to lay low for now, overhears passing maids chatting by. The girls are beat. Glad the coronation ceremony got cut short. Still, they're confused about canceling the festival and parade too. Speculate it's because His Majesty's still grieving his beloved son's death. Talk about how the new crown prince doesn't look a thing like the emperor. That's why the whole country's buzzing with rumors. Decide it's none of their business. Time to get back to work. Slips away to the palace. Since they were whispering, Leon didn't catch everything, but she's piecing it together. Back in her past life, the Empress weaponized doubts about the crown prince's true parentage. Even though this current crown prince outshines the last one in every way, the emperor stuck with the first until he died. All because Carmen didn't look a thing like the emperor. Whispers started in the palace the moment he was born. Rumors claimed the concubine who gave birth to him had a fling with her own full-blooded brother. The emperor mistakenly took the letters between the siblings for love notes and started secretly watching them. Later, the concubine's innocence was proven, but His Majesty never fully shook off his doubts. When Carmine was 4 years old, the emperor sent the girl's brother to war against the barbarians, where he died. 3 years later, the concubine exiled him from the palace under the pretense that the prince needed treatment for a mysterious illness, then took her own life. Even though Carmine was the true heir, it didn't matter anymore because the seed of doubt had been planted by the empress. She was a master manipulator. The emperor was totally under her control, so the crown prince had to leave the palace. Leon wants to track down Viot and cut that route out right away. But before she arrived at the palace, there was no info on her. The heroine, who was the empress's closest subordinate, now even doubts if her name was actually Viot. A bell rings, jolting the girl from her thoughts. Time to move out since the one she's waiting for is coming soon. Gerard thinks it's overkill that Sunny made the new maid do all the laundry alone. The head maid tells the chamberlain to stick to his own duties and stay out of her business. Even if His Highness calls for Leona, there are plenty of other girls who can take her place. At that moment, Sunny's informed that headmaid Odell is waiting for her in her office. As the woman steps into the office, she senses something's off. Leona's smirking right next to Odell. The headmaid sends the girl back to work. The heroine thanks her and walks out. As she walks out, Leona overhears Odell asking Sony to take a look at her bedsheet. The heroine smirks to herself. Her plan is falling into place. The head lady-in-waiting has earned the Emperor's trust with her strict principles on law and order. That's why Leona used her. She approached at just the right moment, bumped into Odell, and sent her tumbling down. Tears in her eyes, the girl introduced herself and pleaded for forgiveness from the head lady-in-waiting. Recognizing Leona as the prince's personal maid, Odell quickly pressed her. Why wasn't she with the crown prince on such a crucial day? Leona told her how the head maid Sony had sent her to do the laundry. Odell realized the girl was out of Sony's good graces, but still didn't get why she'd been sent to the imperial palace. Leona said she'd accidentally spilled ink on Sony's bedding and didn't know how to get the stains out. Since Sony had forbidden her from asking the crown prince's servants for help, she figured she'd come here. Leona said she was scared she couldn't handle it on her own. The fabric on Madame Sony's bedding is special. Then she held up the luxurious fabric of the bedding to show Odell. Recognizing the Giron's finest fabric, the women exchanged a glance and ordered Sony to be brought. Now, stepping out of the office, Leona overhears Odell scolding the head maid for using unauthorized items without permission. She's going to personally inspect everything Sony illegally brought into the palace. The heroine smirks triumphantly. She nailed getting revenge on her bully. Sonya got a harsh punishment that day. Palace rumors spread. She'd been temporarily booted from her post. Leona can't fall asleep. Her head's buzzing with thoughts. Sonya's temporary removal isn't the end. To kick her out of the palace, she'll need help from one person. The heroine gets up and leaves her room. Approaching the right door, she knocks and says she's here on urgent business. Ellie opens the door. "What are you doing here?" Nervously rubbing her hands, she asks to postpone the conversation until tomorrow. It's a bit awkward now. The heroine apologizes in advance, grabs Ellie's hands, and shows her cut-up wrists. Kneeling in front of her, the girl begs, "Don't tell anyone, Leona!" The heroine hugs Ellie's shoulders. "I'll help you!" A month has passed since the coronation. After Sonya's removal, the palace briefly fell into chaos, although everyone quickly returned to their duties. Losing his first son floored the emperor. He kept neglecting his duties, forcing the crown prince to take everything on. After another long meeting, exhausted Carmine sends everyone off to rest. But for some reason, the chancellor doesn't leave and stays in the office. The man explains to the crown prince's confusion that he wants to discuss a certain proposal in private. Hearing this, Linnea suggests clearing the table so the gentleman can talk calmly. Turning to the maids, the chancellor thanks them for the excellent tea and praises the girls' refined taste. Miranda gathers the cups from the table and heads off to wash them. Meanwhile, Leonia is surrounded by other servants, excited that the chancellor has praised the palace tea for the first time. Even though they all praise the heroine, she knows the chancellor would praise anything if you add enough sugar. The servants thank Leonia for teaching them, since she even brewed different drinks for each minister, but she accepts their praise pretty modestly. In reality, the heroine is really pleased with how everyone's been acting since Sonya left. Gerard has returned to his duties. The head maid position went to Ellie, and Bart is helping her, since some senior staff were removed along with Sonya. The senior servants who used to just push their duties aside have started working. Even those who used to try to interfere now report to Leonia, whose position in the palace has clearly improved. But the heroine doesn't make a move to get close, so they're trying everything to connect with her somehow. In her past life, she used people like them for her own gain. And even though those who easily fall for power will become a threat once Vioda arrives, Leonia isn't doing anything about it yet. Taking advantage of the chancellor stepping out, the heroine interrupts her conversation with the servants. They offer the girl their help, but she turns them down. Leon decides to clean the office alone so she doesn't disturb the prince, and tells the servants to show the guest out. Upon entering the room, the heroine is surprised to find that Carmine is asleep. The girl wants to cover him, but remembers she's heard he always runs hot. Leon decides to take off the crown prince's shoes, and is surprised to find he's not wearing socks. Leon finds it funny, and figures Carmine must hate formal clothes that make it hard to move. She reaches to loosen the prince's tie, but just then, he opens his eyes and grabs her hand. The heroine apologizes for the disturbance, and explains she only wanted to make it more comfortable for him. Carmine stares silently at his hand, which he gripped tight in his sleep. Then, still saying nothing, he lets go of the girl. Assuming his silence means he's okay, Leon decides to wrap up quickly and leave the room. She loosens the prince's tie and gives a slight bow before moving on to other tasks. Leon tells him to rest up before their next meeting, even though there's not a lot of time left. Noticing her smile, Carmine wonders what made her laugh, and if his bare feet had anything to do with it. After some time, the crown prince introduces his guest, Jahangun, to the palace staff. Gerard promises to do everything he can to make the guest's stay at the palace as comfortable as possible. Carmen notices how politely the chamberlain is speaking. The prince's personal guests are usually teachers or close friends who live in the palace. But Jahangun is a foreigner, and strangers aren't exactly welcomed in the empire. Carmen was worried the staff would be rude to him, since hosting a foreigner in the palace is unusual. But to his surprise, they've been treating the guest with respect and dignity. Leon appears in the hallway, greets the crown prince, and promises to do everything she can to serve his good friend. At Carmen's request, Jahangun dug up all the info on this girl. But of course, a couple of pages of paper weren't enough to really know her. In life, some people look down on others because of status, while others obey out of fear. Leon, on the other hand, behaves obediently, but doesn't bend under someone else's authority. She serves, but doesn't worship, and questions everything and everyone. Carmen can't figure out why. Given all that, he doesn't want to push her away. The prince orders Leon to wash Nacha, and tells her he'll feed the horse himself today. As he follows her, he thinks to himself that time will tell what kind of person she really is. Jahangun suddenly turns around and leaves. Gerard tries to stop him and offers to accompany the man, but he won't even listen. Carmine tells the chamberlain not to worry about the guest. He'll be back by nightfall. The prince adds that Jahanggun won't talk to anyone but him anyway, so the crown prince tells Gerard to focus on his duties and checks if the minister has arrived yet. Meanwhile, Leon heads out to do his highness's errand and starts washing his horse. The girl offers Natcha a choice of soaps and asks which one he prefers. When the horse nudges one of the soaps with its nose, Leon marvels at how this animal is smarter than most people. Suddenly, the girl notices Natcha glancing off to the side, like he's smirking. When she looks that way too, she sees the crown prince's guest, Jahanggun, right in front of her. The guy walks up to the horse and hands it half a pomegranate. Leon watches in shock as the horse gobbles down the weird fruit she's never seen before. She recalls how the crown prince used to bring back buckets of these pomegranates from the western lands in his past life. She asks Jahanggun if she's right about this being a pomegranate, after feeding the horse and still not saying a word. The guy stands up and walks off, completely ignoring Leon. He feels just as strange and mysterious to her now as he did in her past life. When the heroine tried to find the crown prince's weaknesses before, she ran into Jahanggun but couldn't get any info on him. There are 5 representatives of different races on the continent besides the main one, and the biggest group lives in the west. Every representative has unique traits, including the Katago tribe in the northwest. They're tall, dark-skinned, red-haired, and have tiny horns. In the desert lands is Lumen, where people have brown skin, gray eyes and hair, and pointed ears. 2 tribes live in the southern jungles, one being the Siobi, with green skin, white hair, and dark green eyes. Saya nearby has white skin, black hair and eyes, and giant scars running down their bodies. Jahanggun looks almost exactly like an imperial citizen, and at first glance, it's impossible to tell who he is. Only a wooden earring in his right ear gives it away. Last time, Leon even dug into the tiniest tribes, but it all came up empty. It was weird how that strange guy vanished without a trace after the prince lost power, then disappeared himself. The heroine searched for both of them to protect the little heir, but she still couldn't find them. Now, Leon needs to prepare for any outcome, and this time, she's determined to uncover everything about Jahanggun, even though she never figured out his tribe in her past life. She did manage to uncover one intriguing detail. Evening rolls in, and Carmine vents to Jahanggun about the clueless aristocrats driving him nuts. The crown prince has no idea what to do. His emperor won't work at all, and the council's just a mess. He's wondering how much longer he's got to play by their rules. Jahanggun calmly replies that Carmine already knows the answer. The crown prince lets out a heavy sigh and calls for the chamberlain's assistant. When Bartz walks in, he asks him to fetch some wine. Carmine plops into the chair and suddenly realizes Jahanggun needs a different drink. The guy insists it's too late, so he's not going to touch it. The prince figures ruling through the council's not going to cut it, and the old man's not about to step down either. The emperor pretends to back off but keeps pulling the strings, and the advisors are always second-guessing, dragging out every meeting. Carmine thinks he needs to cut a deal with the chancellor, or else they're gonna hit a wall. Even though Jahanggun's surprised the prince went along with the chancellor's offer, he knows they don't have a choice. Their chat gets cut short when Leonia walks in with the wine. She's about to bow out, but Carmine holds her back, asking why she brought 2 kinds of wine. The maid says she wasn't sure about Lord Jahan's preferences, but she'll grab another drink if he wants. When he asks why Leonia's still up this late, she says she was waiting for His Highness to retire. The crown prince tells her to head to bed after dinner from now on. Leon refuses, insisting everything's fine, but Carmen won't back down. It's an order. The heroine gives in and heads out of the room. Alone with Jahanggun now, Carmen offers the drink again. He walks over to the table, getting ready to sit down. The prince is baffled. How did Leon figure out his guest doesn't touch red wine? Yeah, it's probably a coincidence, but the fact that this girl never misses a beat is kind of scary. All of a sudden, Jahanggun tells Carmen, "I don't sense Leon's aura. It's that energy everyone has, but in her, it's nowhere to be found." Auras are tough to sense only when they're super strong, like Carmen's. But Leon's absence is like she's already dead. The prince finds it amusing. She's got no aura. This girl scares him more than the emperor sometimes. Not thinking Leon's that important, Carmen tells Jahanggun to focus on their mission. The man raises his glass, toasting their shared goal. Catching Leon in the garden first thing in the morning, Miranda asks what she's planning. The heroine doesn't get it, so her friend reminds her. His Highness leaves today. He's heading to the capital with a small group, which means the palace maids get the day off. A few days have passed since Jahanggun arrived. For a while, the heroine followed him everywhere to figure out his preferences. But just like last time, Leona couldn't win his trust. Yet Jahanggun kept looking at her like he wanted to say something, so he remembered her. Time to inch closer. No rush. Time's flying, and the first festival since the prince's official recognition is just around the corner, so all the servants and workers are getting the day off. Miranda laughs and says she's going to sleep the day away. don't even bother looking for her, since they haven't had a real break all this time. The girl's curious what Leona's up to. After a quick think, the heroine decides to sneak out of the palace for a bit. She's going to need something soon. No time to waste. She heads straight for the palace gates to get permission to leave. Leona makes a beeline for the headmaid's office and gets the okay without much hassle. In the hallway, she bumps into Ellie and lets her know she's heading out. Something's off about Ellie. She's acting nervous, like she's spooked. Citing urgent business, she apologizes and bolts. The city's going all out for the official holiday. 3 guys gather around a table at a tavern, celebrating a solid trade deal with the Northwest. Just a few days ago, they were working their butts off, and now they can't even believe it's finally over. Thinking it's a crime to work on a day when even the palace is taking a break, the guys decide to kick back and enjoy the peace. But their long-awaited peace gets interrupted when an unfamiliar woman walks up to their table. She wants to double-check if the guys actually visited the Northwest Territories lately. The men ask her to introduce herself first, and Leon pulls down her hood covering her face and tells them her name. She starts explaining her older brother got drafted into the Northwest War. Using every acting skill she's got, she plays up how worried she is about her brother being sent straight to the border. She says she really wants to get him a gift for the tough journey, but unfortunately, she knows nothing about those territories. So with tears in her eyes, she begs the guys, who are moved by her concern for her brother, for advice. And they tell her everything. The food and water are different there, and you can get sick easily from the local diet. So bring meds and antidotes. It's blazing hot during the day and freezing cold at night. Later, after changing into a new outfit to avoid getting caught, Leon buys everything she needs, planning to stash it at the nearest hotel. She figures she should pick up a gift for Miranda on her way back, and suddenly a shop window grabs her attention. Staring at the kids' toys, she remembers how the little heir never had a chance to play with them. These thoughts consume her so much, she doesn't realize how long she stood in front of the display. Suddenly, a woman approaches and asks if she's looking for something. The heroine explains she was just daydreaming and about to leave, but accidentally bumps into a guy. She apologizes for not looking where she's going, but the man suddenly calls her by name. Leon looks up and recognizes imperial perfumer Phil Mago. The girl admits she's glad to see him, but feels awkward about how they met. Phil says he was actually lucky, since he wanted to meet Leon before heading out. The perfumer is off to hunt down raw materials for his new scents. Leon worries she never got to thank Phil for helping her with the leaves for Natcha. Realizing this, she offers him a bag of cherry candies she bought for herself, which just so happened to be his favorite. Leon grins. The truth is, it wasn't a coincidence at all. She bought them just for him. Back in his past life, when Phil earned the title King of Perfumers, the Emperor tried to reward him with gold, but all he asked for was a bag of cherry candies. Now, legends sing about that moment. When Leon learns he's heading south, she wishes him a smooth trip. Phil thanks her and promises to see her again soon. After watching him go, Leon figures it's time to head back to the palace. Stepping into the room, hoping to find Moran there, Leon suddenly hears a snap. She looks up and spots Lady Hater by her bed. Shattered plates and cups lie on the floor at the girl's feet. She dropped them when the room's owner suddenly appeared, scaring her. She panics and stammers she heard from Miranda that Leon had gone grocery shopping. The heroine's eyes narrow as she demands an explanation why Hater is in their room, and the girl shrugs, saying she just wanted to get to know the girls better on her day off. According to the maid, she brought tea and snacks, but Miranda got a stomach cramp and stayed behind. She says the tray slipped. Leon watches Hater scramble to clean up the shards, her gut telling her something's off. Only 2 cups are shattered on the tray. If Hater wanted to chat with both of them, there should have been 3 mugs. Leon calls her name. Hater jumps startled, but Leon just smiles, saying she'd like to talk too, and offers her a seat. Leon removes her hat, ready to clean up the mess, and brew a fresh pot of tea herself. Hater shakes her head, claiming it's too late, and suggests chatting another time. Her refusal confirms Leon's hunch. Hater came here while she was gone with something to hide. After Hater leaves, Miranda stumbles back into the room minutes later. She's deathly pale, clutching her stomach with both hands. When Leon asks what Miranda ate, she whispers, she only had tea and pastries with Miss Hater. The naive girl doesn't see anything wrong. The tea was fine, and Miss Hater looked perfectly healthy. After hearing her friend's story, the heroine tucks her in early to let her rest. She herself draws her conclusions and rushes to find out what's going on. She approaches the closet, checks out every detail inside, and paws through the clothes hanging there. Then she checks under the beds and nightstands. Leona is certain Hater stashed something in her and Miranda's room. Then she spots a drawing on the window glass, done in a clear liquid, but sunlight made it almost invisible. It's definitely Kata's writing, and it translates to leader or chief. For years, the Empire and nomadic tribes lived on opposite sides of the border. trading occasionally. Everything changed when the current emperor took the throne. His youthful rage sparked a desire to conquer the nomads, and war broke out. The empire fought the tribes for 10 years, but couldn't expand the borders or bring them under control. The defeated emperor hated the nomads with every fiber of his being. Even when his favorite concubine showed interest in their culture, he cut off her limbs and had her executed. His Majesty also ordered all books in the nomads' language burned. But now he's old and frail, so Nacha and Jahang can remain in the palace. Still, nomadic script is banned. If anyone finds out, exile is the mildest punishment they can expect. The sneaky tricks her rivals use to eliminate Leona and Miranda as obstacles feel pathetic to her, even though she used the same method in her past life to take down Viot's enemy. But Hader probably doesn't know that this method has certain drawbacks. Later that same night, palace order department maids burst into the girls' room. They order Leona and Miranda to leave their bedroom immediately and step into the hallway. The maid commands the girls to kneel down right away, and they obey without hesitation. Tears in her eyes, Miranda pleads for an explanation why they're being suddenly inspected and what's happening. Taking her friend's hand, Leona reassures her not to worry, because they didn't do anything wrong. The duty officer declares only one of the girls is guilty, since these things are usually done alone. She announces a nomadic language inscription was found in this room. The gathered maids who heard the commotion start whispering in surprise. Since using this writing is illegal, the duty officer demands they confess which girl is guilty, promising only one will be punished. But both girls stay silent, gripping each other's hands tightly. Not getting the desired answer, the duty officer declares both will be held responsible. Before accepting punishment, Leona asks the woman to specify exactly where the inscription was found. The duty officer replies it's written in translucent ink on the bedroom window. The heroine objects to the accusation and demands proof the inscription was made by them. Otherwise, she dares to suggest someone sneaked into their room and deliberately left the markings here. Even as the duty officer starts to lose her cool, Leona stays calm and asks another question. She asks if a vial from that exact special substance used for the markings was found in their room. Neither Leona nor Miranda knew about the markings, but the order department found everything fast. So someone tipped them off. According to her, that person likely looks like a nomad subordinate, and when Heather hears this, she yells, "It's nonsense." By revealing herself like that, the servant makes it clear she's the one who snitched on the girls. Rising from her knees, the heroine tells the order department duty officer about today's strange incident. Leona explains how Heather came to their room when she wasn't there, and when Miranda left for the bathroom after she brought tea, she was alone here. The girl tries to justify herself, saying she just wanted to be friends, and stumbled upon the markings on the window. In that case, Leona demands to know how Heather realized they were nomad script. The tribes use odd shapes and patterns in their writing that imperial people would call doodles, but Heather clearly recognized the words, so Leona demands to know where she learned the nomad language. Trapping the girl in her own trap, the heroine gives the duty officer a knowing look. The woman orders her assistants to search Heather's room. For this dumb plan to work, they needed to prepare evidence in advance and make sure the markings were found first by someone who knows them. In her past life, Leon slipped ink into the victim's room and paid off a servant, her dad was a translator, to testify as a witness. Hader botched her prep, and now the ink shows up in her room, plus shredded fabric scraps in the trash. When they stuck the pieces together, yep, same message pops up. The guard orders Hader taken to the justice chamber, but she suddenly starts fighting back, screaming, "I didn't do it!" The girl claims she followed Sonia's orders, who smuggled the ink and marked fabric into the palace. Hader demands they dig into it and get to the bottom of it. The guard promises to do it and yells for Sonia to be carted off until they sort it out. As she walks out, the headmaid keeps ranting about her innocence and throwing shade at the heroine. Leon and Miranda get tossed into probation until this gets sorted. The heroine helps her friend up off the floor, heading back to their room. But as they walk, Leon suddenly veers off the path. She catches up to Ellie and whispers something so no one notices. The girl might still be scared and want to run, but if she's even thinking of changing, this is her shot to fight back. Ellie steps back from Leon fingers curling into fists. Carmen stands in the middle of the city square in the capital, scanning the area. After wrapping up his business here, he suggests taking Nacha back to the palace. But for some reason, the horse suddenly resists and starts pulling his master somewhere. The horse leads the prince to a jewelry shop for women. Carmen doesn't get why the horse needs a garter, so he asks if Nacha wants to wear it himself. But the horse shakes his head. Carmen tries to figure out his horse, and suddenly it hits him. Nacha wants to buy a gift for Leona. The horse smirks and nods in response to his master's guess. The prince clarifies if he mistook a woman for a horse, but Nacha gives him a side eye, and Carmen gets it. When he buys the garter, he notices how happy it makes his horse. It's strange for the man to see his horse so fond of someone. When the crown prince returns to the castle's main gates, he's met by a worried Casey. Everyone got super worked up when they didn't find the prince in his chambers this morning. Even though Casey found a note left by his highness, he still panicked when he couldn't find the prince or Gehenna. Carmen tells the knight to forget about it and asks where everyone is now. Casey replies that everyone's out searching. The guards couldn't just sit around, even though the prince said he'd be back soon. Casey asks where Mr. Gehenna is, and the prince cuts him off short. Got his own business to handle. This guy who ignores everyone and then ditched his highness? Totally rubs the knight the wrong way. Carmen tells the kid to shut up and just open those gates already. The second the prince rolls in, he notices Miranda and Leona are missing from the welcoming crew. Bartz hesitates, then steps forward to explain what's going on. He tells his highness both girls got dragged into an investigation and are currently on probation. They can't do their duties until the investigation wraps up. Bart stands in a bow, wondering why his highness is staying quiet. When he finally lifts his head, he catches a weird smile creeping across Carmen's face. A second later, the crown prince bursts out laughing. "I knew she was a wild card," he says, "but this is just something else." Carmen tells the servants he's heading to the garden to chill with Nacha and sends them off. Then, he tells Bartz to pass along his order. Drop all charges against the girls and bring Leona to him. After giving the orders, the crown prince and his horse head for the garden. The servants keep staring after him, stunned by the crazy sight. None of them had ever imagined his highness could laugh. Carmen strolls through the garden still laughing, amazed where the heck this wild maid came from. He can't wrap his head around if Leona is really just a regular servant. She's level-headed and quick on her feet, and that kind of sharp thinking doesn't come naturally. Carmen even starts suspecting she might be a spy from another country. But even if she is, he's got no way to prove it. The heroine interrupts his thoughts by rushing into the garden to find out why he wanted to see her. Carmen hands her a small box and says, "Take this from Nacha." Nacha nuzzles Leona's shoulder with his nose, showing off his affection. The heroine opens the box, pulls out a ribbon, and quickly ties it into her hair. As she thanks Nacha for the most beautiful gift she's ever received, Carmen just stares, completely mesmerized. He suddenly cuts in, "Sorry to interrupt, but first things first. Let's take that saddle off." Carmen tells Leona, "Palace maids aren't allowed to wear jewelry, but since this is from Nacha, I'm giving you personal permission to make an exception." The heroine says, "Thank you, Your Highness. Maybe we should get Nacha cleaned up too." As she leaves to get water, the prince watches her disappear around the corner. Nacha snorts, then trots off after her without a second thought. Though Carmen wants to join them, he reins himself in and heads back for a stroll in the garden. The crown prince turns at the rustle between the trees, spotting Jangun ahead and immediately asking if he's got any news. According to the guy, the northwest border's down, and the Kataga tribe's pushing south fast. Carmine's shocked. He thought the great general was still holding the border, but turns out the guy got killed. Clearly, it's not the Katago's work. A traitor leaked all the main stronghold details to them. A messenger will bring the news to the capital in a few days. Carmine's gotta think, this means war's about to hit. The prince figures he needs to bring this up with the emperor. Leon and Miranda stroll through the courtyard when a maid pulls her up. She's got some fancy cosmetics she barely managed to get. Wants to hand them to Leon, but the heroine says no. The maid tells Leon to reach out if she needs the stuff. Leon thanks her, then gives Miranda a surprised look. 5 days since Heater and Son got locked up, and their close associates grilled. Son's personal maid Ellie spilled her info. Corrupt servants get the boot from the palace, and the air's thick with tension. Out of nowhere, the prince lets one of the maids wear a colored accessory. Nacha gave her the headband, but now the other servants think Leon's the prince's favorite. That's giving her some clout in the palace. But Leon's got no time to worry about what people think. She's got bigger fish to fry. Leon was so lost in thought, she didn't even realize Ellie had stood right in front of her. She told Ellie she'd already answered all the questions from the order department maids, and even explained everything to His Highness herself. The heroine asks Miranda to leave them alone with Ellie to talk something over. She did this because she was worried Ellie would feel awkward explaining everything in front of another maid. Ellie said the order department checked her wounds and were super kind, so everything's better now. Ellie's super glad the case is closed and everything's finally over. She's really grateful to Leon for helping. Ellie's rushing to hand everything over to the Imperial Palace's headmaid, so she says goodbye to the heroine. But the girls suddenly notice the headmaid herself is here at the Crown Prince's palace for some reason. Ellie isn't hiding her surprise. She thinks something's off about this. Leon apologizes to Ellie and steps back to help His Highness. The heroine joins the Crown Prince's entourage, knowing the headmaid's allowed to meet the Emperor. Odell's rarely taken out of the palace, so they can always reach her. That means the ruler ordered her to come here. In Leon's past life, on this very day, a terrible rumor spread that the Katago tribe had crossed the border. The enemies looted the border territories, executed nobles, drove civilians out of their homes, and took over a fortress and a couple of cities. Last time, the Emperor did call an emergency council, but they were too late and the Valfa fortress fell. As tensions mounted, the Emperor had to make an urgent statement. He appointed the Crown Prince commander-in-chief of the war against Kato and sent his son into battle. Valfort's fortress stood on its namesake lands since the Empire's founding, and no one could imagine it would ever fall. Once news of the attack spread through the palace, the Emperor locked himself in his chambers, while the council started holding endless meetings. Everyone feared the tribe would soon reach the capital, but only one person in the palace remained calm. While the Emperor and top officials couldn't even agree with each other, the Crown Prince was already thinking how to escape the dire situation. As a result, all the subjects turned to him. His calmness soothed their hearts. They fell at his feet, begging for help. The Crown Prince then asked to be granted an audience with the Emperor. Shortly after their meeting, the Emperor left his chambers and sent his son to war. Carmen summons Gerard and declares he's going to war. Since Glenn is in charge of the preparations, the Chamberlain must assist him if requested. When Gerard asks how many bodyguards the Crown Prince needs, he replies they'd only be a hindrance. When the Chamberlain insists, Carmen agrees to take 3 bodyguards with him. Suddenly, Leon dashes to her knees and pleads to be allowed to go with him. Carmen doesn't want to hear of it, but the girl keeps insisting. The prince starts getting annoyed that Leon ignores his orders. Gerard rushes to lift her up, but she asks Carmine to at least listen to her. The prince can't figure out why she keeps being stubborn at the weirdest times. He's had enough of polite requests, so he gives a strict order for her to back off. Later, Gerard scolds the girl for making a scene during an important moment when His Highness is busy preparing for war. If not for his heavy workload, Leon would have been punished for such behavior. Boris gets curious. Gerard, who never raises his voice, suddenly starts yelling. What's going on? The heroine explains she just volunteered for the war, shocking everyone around her. But Bartzi is even more shocked when Leon announces she'll accompany the prince despite the ban. No matter what Carmine says, the heroine must get to the battlefield at all costs. She needs to settle one matter. Otherwise, Viot won't be defeated. The next day, after the prince's departure announcement is made, the Order Department finds Sonia guilty of using nomadic script and framing another maid. They also discover she embezzled funds set aside for maids' pensions, stole from the Chamberlain's subordinates, and often hit servants. Sonia is exiled, and Heder, who helped her, is imprisoned for 3 years. Odell assigned someone else to oversee the Crown Prince's palace. They introduced the new maid Cindy to Carmine, who hoped she'd be a worthy companion for Gerard. The heroine remembers this woman as a cautious person who's avoided palace politics for years. Cindy held a high rank in her past life, but not here. And Leon hopes she doesn't get caught in the Empress's web. The Crown Prince calls the heroine over to ask about the weird scent in the tea she served him. She explains it's ginger. It warms the body and helps with colds. Even though Carmine says he's healthy, Leon suggests thanking him for the tea. The Crown Prince just asks her to bring him some mint tea. She apologizes but can't do it. The mint leaves are ruined and can't be brewed. The leaves were stored wrong, so they had to be thrown out. Carmine's stuck with ginger tea now. She also made a special spicy red pepper pie for the prince. It's good for his health too. She worked hard and asks the Crown Prince to try it, but he refuses. Carmine yells he hates spicy food, and Leon knows that. But the girl feigns confusion, wondering how she could possibly know that. The prince glares at the maid and declares he won't grant her request over something so trivial. Leon just laughs and says she's got no clue what he's talking about. Carmine clutches his head and lets out a heavy sigh. Everything checks out. This girl's never messed up his food preferences. There's only one conclusion here. She definitely knows every single thing Carmine hates. Before bed, Carmine calls a servant in to ask why the blanket's thicker than usual. The servant says the prince's personal maid insisted on it. He needs to take care of his health before he leaves. The servant adds that Leon's loyalty to the prince clearly has no limits. After sending the servant off and sinking into a chair by the table, Carmine mutters to himself, "It's gone too far." He pours himself some wine from the jug and downs the glass in one go. A second later, the prince's face contorts into a grimace, like his insides are on fire. He finds a note from Leon by the jug. She explains she ordered the mulled wine to help him warm up before bed. Wiping sweat from his brow and fuming, Carmine thinks to himself, this girl's going to be the death of him. The next day, Miranda asks the heroine if it's true she wants to go to the battlefield. She knows how dangerous it is. Leon insists there's nothing to worry about. She'll still be in the camp. No way they'll let her fight. And since His Highness is against it, she's decided to wear him down. She's been driving the prince nuts since he turned her down, like bringing him a warm robe instead of his usual clothes. Leon adds hot peppers to every dish. Even though Carmine finds it annoying, he stays quiet so he doesn't look petty and picky. Miranda realizes just how serious her friend is, but she's not sure the prince will actually give in. Then the heroine admits that if that's how it has to be, she'll follow the prince in secret. All this time, the prince had been venting his frustration on his underlings and doing grueling training sessions. When Leon shows up at his training range, she offers Carmine a glass of water to cool off. The prince reaches for it, but notices the water's so hot, it's steaming. The maid insists drinking cold water when you're overheated is dangerous, and Carmine clutches his head. He was planning to ignore Leon's antics until he left, but they're starting to really get to him. The prince is thinking of a way to stop her, when suddenly an idea hits him. He declares Leon must have worked hard, which is why she looks so exhausted. Since Carmine sees himself as a decent master, he gives her a few days off until he leaves. The heroine thanks the crown prince for his concern, ready to obey his order. But Carmine is thrown off by her calm reaction. He's sure she's got something planned. Yet moments later, he shakes off the thought. Leon definitely looks genuinely caught off guard. Crown Prince satisfied she surrendered. Sends tired subordinates home from training ground. Casey happy Prince calmed down, been in foul mood lately, and ripped 3 layers off their hides because of it. Leaving training ground, Knight notices Leona deep in thought. Casey heard she volunteered for battlefield, but taking unprepared woman, even smart one, he wouldn't have done. Still, Knight, uncomfortable seeing her sad, walks over to her. Leona smiles, thanks him for concern, says she's fine. Casey about to say goodbye. Girl suddenly stops him, asks him to teach her how to clean armor and weapons. Knight replies that usually his squires handle that, but seeing Leona's stern look, promises to find someone tomorrow. But barely a second later, Casey caves under her piercing gaze and agrees to start now. Wagons pull up at Eastern Palace gates. Workers unload crates. Mr. Org barks at loaders to handle crates carefully. Fragile stuff inside. Spots Leona, head of Empire's biggest trading guild, exchanges polite greetings with her. Man considers it huge honor to help Crown Prince prepare for war. On Leona's advice, contacted Northwest traders, added more medicine, tools, and proper stock of dried dates and figs. On top of that, Org had prepared what his maid asked for. With those words, he hands the girl a bucket of ripe pomegranates. As Leon expected, buying pomegranates from the trade guild was a good deal, and the fruit was top quality. On her way to the garden, the girl is stopped by Bart, who submitted the documents to shorten the prince's departure ceremony at her suggestion, and it was approved. Although Gerard complained that it was too simple for a send-off, Leon reminds him that her involvement in the plan needs to stay secret from the Chamberlain, but Bart already knows that. He also mentions he found an assistant's uniform in her size, but doesn't get why she needs it unless she's planning to secretly follow the prince. Leon insists she's not that reckless, and says the uniform is just in case the prince approves her departure. After saying goodbye to Bart, Leon heads off to feed Nacha. But in the garden, she unexpectedly runs into Jahangun. The man walks past the maid without giving her a second glance. Leon asks Jahangun if he came to see the tea blossoms. Catching his attention, Leon offers the man a pomegranate and immediately warns that it's a bribe. She asks him to look out for her on the battlefield, since she heard he'll be accompanying His Highness. Since Jahangun keeps silent, Leon apologizes for the disturbance and leaves. Meanwhile, a military council is underway at the palace, where they're discussing that the Katago tribe's leader, Sheritaru, is mortally ill. According to the intel we've got, the tribe will fall to either the 8th or the 13th sun, and both are jumping into the war. Their support is about equal, so the leader sent them both together. Captain Maki of the New Moon Unit says the next target's Hiran, and the opposition's charging straight for the capital. The river's splitting their forces, so it'll take time to cross. The Empire's planning to use that window and set up an ambush into Goya Forest. Carmine gives the order. No way the enemy gets past the forest. Not on our watch. Maki's a sharp sword and a battle-tested warrior. You can trust him with your life. The Emperor likes his tongue as much as his blade. Carmine's stuck dealing with stubborn old fogies until this war's over. Prince is by the window when he spots something weird in the courtyard. Leon's heading off with a helmet, and Casey's hot on her trail. Carmine tries to figure out what this restless girl's scheming now. Turning to the council, he tells them to take a breather and grab a snack. Everyone but the Chancellor leaves the meeting room. gotta chat with the prince about something. He brings up their last talk about his daughter's engagement and asks when Carmine's gonna make the announcement. The prince says things are too chaotic right now. No room for engagements. Since Carmine's got to focus on the war right now, he says they'll talk about it when he gets back. Everything in the armory is spotless and neatly organized. Casey's worried someone might have seen Leon, because there's a scratch on His Highness's helmet now. In the heroine's eyes, this knight's surprisingly shy for a guy his size. She reminds them the scratch isn't her fault. She just grabbed it for training, and Casey dropped it when he got all worked up. The knight's so worked up, Leon decides to calm him down, assuring him no one will notice the scratch. But Casey's worried this might bring bad luck on His Highness in battle. Leon insists the deputy can't affect the crown prince's fate. She tells the guy to drop all the doubts and get back to common sense. The girl's sure there's no need to panic. His Highness will crush this war, no doubt. Leon's ready to bet on it. The knight's shocked how her words just gave him the confidence he needed. He doesn't realize this isn't just wishful thinking. It's a real prophecy, and she already knows how the war ends. Carmine will crush the Katago tribe, and the heroine's pushing to join him as an assistant because one event in the war will mark the prince's downfall. In his past life, Carmine kicked the enemy tribe out of the country, but secretly struck a deal with the chief's 13th son. The deal was simple. If the tribe doesn't mess with the empire, the crown prince will form an alliance with them when he takes the throne. The empress ordered Leona to forge the contract and change its content to frame the prince for conspiring with the tribe and planning a rebellion. The heroine feared the truth would come out since the 13th heir had a copy. But the empress knew the tribe's 8th son killed his brother, framed Carmine, and burned the contract to become the tribe's leader. That day, Leona realized the woman's influence stretched beyond the palace, right where the crown prince was accused of treason and stripped of his titles. At that point, the girl actually respected the empress. But now, she can't get stuck in the past. She needs to focus on the future. Now Leona knows exactly how to protect the crown prince. Her goal is to save the contract and make sure the tribe's 13th son doesn't die. Meanwhile, Carmine gets a document from Leona asking him to accompany her to the war. The maid wrote the reason as wanting to protect the empire, His Highness, and the future. The prince thinks this sounds way too dramatic and arrogant, so he crumples it up and throws it out. Right then, Jahangir walks into the study. He leans down to pick up the crumpled paper, but Carmine tells him to toss that trash. Jahangir reads the request, and the prince rants about how no one in the palace listens to him anymore. Out of nowhere, the man asks the prince why he won't accept the girl's request. To him, it might actually help. If something goes wrong, Leona could really be useful. The crown prince is mad at him, thinking there's no room for games and war. In response, Jahangir, with no hidden sarcasm, points out that to Carmine, this is all just a game. The prince glares at his friend, holding his ground since he won't change the squad. But Jahangir suddenly drops that maybe Carmine's just nervous about this girl. Because if not, it's logical to admit another set of hands wouldn't hurt. Plus, this way Carmine can see the girl's real nature. Although the prince's opinion probably doesn't count, since Jahangir knows Leon's already got everything covered. He's certain she already has her own spot in one of the carriages. There's a bed, table, and all the necessary gear, so she's definitely tagging along. The prince's palace carriages are packed with all the war essentials. Leon checks the meds, clothes, and warm blankets to make sure everything's perfect. A few days back, she secretly started prepping and asked Orga for space in a carriage. But he went overboard and made a whole room on wheels. She had her doubts, but couldn't deny comfort is key. Here she is, checking the carriage again, when the crown prince walks in. Without holding back his anger, Carmine notices Leon set up pretty nicely. She admits she's really sorry and ready to take any punishment you dish out. The prince smirks. He can hear her brain gears grinding from here. No sense punishing Leona. He knows she's coming anyway. The maid bows to His Highness, no denying it. Her heart skips a beat. Carmine just said yes to taking her. Leona stands tall, grinning, thanks him and promises to earn her place on this trip. Carmine tells her to pack. Departure ceremony's coming up fast. As soon as the prince walks off, other servants swarm her. Time flies, departure day is here. Excited crowds wave goodbye as the crown prince rides by, both clad in gleaming armor. She hears the noise getting louder. Knights are marching in. She worried she'd miss her hotel stash, but no dice. Leona nears the wagons when Noel sprints over. Fuming, she vanished. She says she had to grab some feminine essentials. He blushes, tells her to hurry up. Noel's a palace servant, picked as an assistant for this trip with Bart and Leona. They picked him because he's the toughest of the staff. Only 19, super responsible, but man, he's a pain to work with. Before the heroine can even unpack, the carriage lurches forward. Leon peeks through the curtain and sees the crowd cheering as they send them off. As soon as she shuts her eyes, that horrible scene flashes back. Rebels set the city ablaze, grabbed the nobles, killed the emperor. whole empire collapsed. The ceremony today looked totally different to the heroine now. In her past life, she was just another face in the crowd. The crown prince had more noble blood than anyone, would have died for the empire. But Leon didn't care. And then it hits her. The emperor's trapped in the palace, watching from afar as the people send off his heir. Leon's not sure the emperor would have liked this show. This was the first time the heroine had left the country since becoming a servant. But that imperial palace's shadow still lingered in her mind. After a while on the road, the group stops for a break. Leon steps out of her carriage. She took the motion sickness meds, but her head's still spinning like crazy. At first, she thinks she's the only one struggling with the ride, until she spots Bart's. He looks even worse. She heads over to the chamberlain's assistant and hands him a motion sickness pill. The guys look up toward Leona and freeze in shock. They've never seen the maid with her hair up and wearing slacks. She's dressed for easier travel. Meanwhile, Carmine peels off Nake's armor so he can take a break too. Casey sprints to the prince to help him change, but he declines. His Highness tells the others to change too. The armor's restricting their movement and slowing them down on the trip. Only now does he realize he forgot to pack a change of clothes. Leona steps in, handing the crown prince a neatly folded change of clothes. Carmine stares at her, surprised, and asks why she's wearing pants. The heroine, unfazed, says it's way easier to help him this way. The prince declines the maid's offer. He's grabbing a bite with the other commanders, but tells Leona to bring food for Jahangun. Leona darts off to do it, and Carmine sighs, once again amazed by how strange she is. Finding Nock grazing by the river, Leona tosses him a pomegranate. The horse nuzzles her shoulder gratefully. Meanwhile, not far off, Jahangun lounges on the grass, resting. Leona approaches the man and says she's brought him something to eat. She offers him light snacks that won't mess with his stomach on the road. A single glance from Jahangun shows he's wondering how Leon knows his food preferences, but she can't explain it's her past life knowledge, so she just grins and wishes him a good appetite. Besides knowing people's tastes, the heroine's also aware that 2 units will shape the war's outcome. The Prince's Blue Falcon Guard and the New Moon Cavalry are the Empire's top forces, but they're complete opposites. Blue Falcon troops act like their leader Glenn, loud, easygoing, and quick to settle in. New Moon's under tough commander Makia. They're all ice and distance. So these two groups, no idea how to work together. The captains sit down for a meal to hash out plans, but Makia's frozen glare makes the prince's stomach twist. Leon walks in with a tray, offering tea to go round. She brewed mint for Carmine and Jasmine for Glenn. Both are already impressed. Before she can reach the second commander, he waves it off, saying he doesn't need it. Leon shrugs it off, but the prince teases Makia. Careful with this woman, she might slip a snake in your bed. Makia takes the joke deadly serious, muttering that real warriors sleep on one ear. Moments like this keep piling up, one after another. Leon somehow managed to set up a canopy bed in the prince's tent, even though he first pushed back and ordered it all removed. Carmen finally gave in after realizing the mosquito net worked great against bugs. When Leon offered the commanders an insect repellent, Glenn happily accepted, but Maki, in his usual fashion, refused. Night falls over the camp, and Leon wishes everyone good night before heading to bed. Suddenly, one of the squad members calls out to her. Leon turns around and recognizes the guy as the leader of New Moon's first squad. Jonathan apologizes for the captain's coldness. He's not thrilled about having a woman in the middle of a battlefield. Leon surprises him by saying she already knows the captain didn't mean to hurt her feelings. She's also pretty sure Maki just has a hard time showing his emotions, but he's a good guy at heart. Jonathan's clearly relieved and thanks her before heading off to sleep. Honestly, Leon couldn't care less about Maki's attitude because it doesn't get in the way of her job. One of the Empire's greatest generals. But the Emperor used to despise him for backing the Crown Prince. Miyaki tried to clear Carmen's name, but the Empress wouldn't let him, and the captain got labeled a traitor. He was locked up, tortured, and they cut all his tendons. When the Crown Prince was exiled, they let Maki go, but he never managed to hold a sword again. The guy stepped down from his title and left the Empire with his family. Since he still protects the Empire and the Crown Prince, Leon respects him all the same, even if he ignores her. It means a lot to the girl that Makia isn't alone. His soldiers have got his back. On the 10th day of the journey, a heavy downpour starts and just won't quit. Horses are slipping, cartwheels are sinking in the mud, and pushing forward gets damn near impossible. Makia suggests the prince take a breather. The group's covered a month's worth of ground in 10 days, and everyone's wiped. Despite the hurry, Carmen agrees to stop and set up camp. Soldiers jump into action, yanking the cart out of the mud. Leon sprints to Noel, hands him a cloak, and asks for help with the cart. No way the guy's not strong. She tells Bart to handle the prince's tent setup. She heads off to find the prince. A strange carriage parked nearby catches her eye. Next thing she hears is the crown prince ranting at two guys. He reminds them of his order not to get close and mess up the journey. The guys protest they were just worried about the prince's health and wanted to offer him shelter at their estate. They set up a rest area and got a gift ready for His Highness. Carmine brings up to the Viscount that this year his lands had a bad harvest. People were starving and begging for tax relief. So if he's got the cash for carriages and jewels, maybe he should focus on helping his people instead. The crown prince kicks the men out so angrily that the soldiers, seeing how mad he is, don't dare say a word to him. No one dares speak to Carmine except Leona, who walks up with an umbrella and tells him he'll catch a cold standing in the rain. Since his tent's all set, she tells him to head inside. The prince says nothing. A heavy silence settles over everyone. Leona smiles at Carmine, keeping the umbrella over his head. The prince lifts his gaze, locks eyes with her, and nods for her to lead the way. The soldiers can't believe what they just witnessed. Carmine takes the umbrella from Leona and orders her to take him to the tent. The knights are stunned by the assistant's bravery, keeping her cool in front of the furious crown prince. The heroine walks up to the prince's tent and says she brought towels and fresh clothes. When she steps inside, she catches Carmine half-dressed, just about to wash up. Once he's gone, she grabs his clothes and starts organizing them. After his bath, the prince calms down a bit. Water always makes even the worst situations easier to handle. Leon suddenly rushes over, all worked up, insisting he must have left something behind. Leon apologizes for interrupting, but she found this while going through his clothes and worries it'll get lost if she doesn't return it. The prince shrugs it off, telling her to drop it somewhere. He doesn't see the big deal. Leon's holding a military medal and a token of imperial authority. Only the emperor can wear that stuff. If the emperor handed this to him, he's betting everything on this war. And Carmine's feeling the heat. But if he had even a drop of ambition, he wouldn't be tossing it around like that. He's ready to walk away, just like last time. If things get bad, Carmine'll vanish again. While the prince changed clothes, the maid had iced plum tea waiting for him. As she steps into the tent, she sees Carmine drenched in sweat. The fire moved inside because of the rain made it sweltering in here. Leon urges Carmine to switch into breathable desert gear. Those who live in the dunes wear it for a reason. When he asks if the palace supplied it, she says she personally scraped together the cash to get it. The unit is heading northwest. Weather there flips like a coin. Nights freeze, days blister like the desert. The crown prince is stunned by how on point Leon's preparation was. She thought of everything, but it bugs him how she laid a down comforter in his palace room, even though she knew he hates the heat. The girl is at a loss for words, but Carmine just smirks slyly. He tells her to forget about it and helps him change clothes. A servant walks into the tent to say the captains want to talk to the crown prince. Carmine orders them to let the visitors in, and Leon, after dressing him, bows politely. The heroine tells Bart to haul that brazier out of there before His Highness kicks it out himself. She heads off to check on Nock, probably hiding from the rain all alone, since he didn't stick with the other horses. Leon grabs a basket of apples and goes looking for the horse, but can't find him in the stable or near the wagons. Finally, she spots Nock standing all alone under a tree. The heroine walks up to the horse, gives him a quick pet, and tosses him some apples. Suddenly, not far away, the girl catches sight of another horse. No imperial crest on the saddle, Leon figures it's Jahungun's horse, trying to track down the horse's owner. The heroine sees a guy's legs sticking out from the tree canopy. She tries to get Nock to share the apples with their new buddy, but the horse clearly isn't into it. But after a beat, he lets out a snort of approval. Leon gives the hero a shout-out for his epic generosity and lovingly presses his warm face against him. The female lead catches a conversation between two knights out of nowhere. Stan, the deputy captain of the New Moon unit, is tearing into the prince, while Jonathan tries to get him to keep it down. He knows his friend's still reeling from Jesse's injury, but figures she'll bounce back, and he should just grab another horse until then. Stan's fuming they kept pushing forward straight through without a break. Like if the prince had given them a second to breathe, Jesse wouldn't be hurt. Jonathan's trying to explain it's non-negotiable. They're racing to war and can't afford to treat the enemy like a joke. Stan's stressing he'll have to sit Jesse out, since the other horses don't cut it. Then, out of nowhere, he spots a stranger's horse hanging around that looks like it can take a hit. Jonathan warns Stan not to touch the horse. It's owned by the prince's sidekick, but he's scratching his head. Why is a top-tier warhorse stuck with a foreigner who's clearly not in the fight? Leon suddenly strides over to the knights and tells them flat out to keep their hands off that horse. She gives them the stink eye, then starts tossing the horse apples in silence. Stan snarks that the assistant's clearly cozy with the foreigner, watching over his horse like it's her own. Jonathan pleads with urgency, telling his buddy to cut the girl some slack. The heroine spins around and throws Stan a withering look. This guy's been under Captain Mackie's command for years and's a gifted swordsman. So when Makia got locked up in a cell in his past life, Stan tried to rally some young soldiers to storm the prison. That got him labeled a criminal, and he vanished. He might not be thrilled with the prince's decisions, but he won't cause any trouble. Plus, he'll be useful in a fight. So Leon calmly tells him she's not really close with Jahangun, but since he's a close friend of the prince, she's committed to serving him loyally. But Stan doesn't think it's a good idea to bring another foreigner into a war against foreigners. The deputy gets queasy just looking at those folks. He's wondering if Leon's actually okay hanging around him. The heroine glances at the tree. Jahangun's still sitting there, hiding from the knights. She pauses, then replies, "She's just the prince's maid. If someone's important to him, she'll respect him too. Status and family background don't matter to her. They serve the same master." She figures Stan clearly disagrees, and those words hit him hard. Nacha marches up, clearly annoyed, and glares at the knight who had the nerve to stare at his Leon. Stan turns to head back to camp. Jonathan apologizes to the heroine for the umpteenth time. As they walk off, Leon smiles and thanks Nacha for backing her up. The prince wraps up the meeting with the captains by granting the squads a day of rest, since the wet ground'll make marching tough. Leon offers to prepare a solid dinner for His Highness. Might as well enjoy the break. Micaiah overhears her saying that pushing too hard wears down the soldiers and horses, and there's still a long road ahead. To keep morale up, the girl suggests alternating days with more rest and better meals. Even though Carmine says soldiers aren't that fragile, she thinks even steel can bend under too many hits, and fatigue can take anyone down. Leon's worried the prince is eating just as little, and if they all get too weak, they won't be able to fight the enemy. So she hopes His Highness will make a smart call. After a bit of thought, Carmine approves her idea, but insists they'll do it every 3 days. Since Makia heard about the new plan, the Crown Prince orders the captain to update the soldiers and revise the schedule. When asked if Leon's happy now, the heroine respectfully replies she didn't expect anything less from His Highness. Makia stares in amazement at this incredible girl. The camp becomes more lively. Soldiers are clearly pumped now that the prince let them have a feast. The heroine's thrilled. The guys who looked so drained before definitely look better now. Leon decides to get back to her chores. She hasn't had a chance to hang up her laundry since the downpour. She finds 2 convenient trees to tie a rope to, but they're so tall, it'll be tough to do alone. She asks the knights standing nearby for help. When they turn around, Leon realizes they're from the New Moon unit, the one unit that still hasn't accepted her. Noticing they're not moving, Jonathan strolls over and yells at them. He's furious they're acting deaf when the assistant asks for help. Leon barely blinked before the soldiers not only tightened the rope, but hung up all the laundry themselves. Since it all took just a couple of minutes, Jonathan's baffled. How hard would it have been to help right away? The soldiers are shaking with fear. The commander of the first squad's not done talking with them in his tent yet. Jonathan approaches the girl, apologizes, and explains his men are just following their strict captain's example. Leon doesn't get why this guy keeps asking her for apologies. Jonathan agrees he's been doing that, and then realizes his deputy was just as rude to Leon. Leon laughs and calls the commander the team's main shield. Jonathan blushes, taking it as a compliment. But Leon suddenly adds, she's worried Stan doesn't recognize the prince. The commander agrees his deputy's wording was harsh, but he swears Stan respects the prince. He was just worried about his favorite horse. He begs Leon to forget the deputy's words, but she tells him not to apologize. She was rude too. Suddenly, from behind in the camp, someone starts shouting. When they rush over, Jonathan and Leon see a fight breaking out between the squads. The first group's commander orders the soldiers to stop, but someone accidentally bumps into him, and Jonathan falls, losing his balance. Leon rushes over to Noel to find out what happened here, and even though the guy doesn't know the reason, it started with Lieutenant Stan and Casey. Then the privates who tried to break it up got tangled in, and it all turned into a full-blown brawl. The shouting fades when Makia steps onto the field. Annoyed by the chaos, he barks an order to stop the fight right now and get back information. After lining everyone up, Micaiah tells one person to step forward and explain what this mess is about. The prince walks up, guessing the soldiers had nothing better to do than waste their only day off like this. He's furious that people are dying at the border, while the so-called country defenders are throwing a childish brawl. Carmen glares at Leon and orders her to explain what started it all. She relays to the Crown Prince the info she got from Noel. According to that info, the lieutenants were the ones who kicked off the chaos. The Crown Prince gives Casey and Sean a chance to defend themselves, telling them to speak up if they've got something to say. Both guys stay silent, and Carmen points out that lieutenants who weaken combat strength by starting a fight have no excuse. Since they're under Makia and Glenn, The prince asks them how to handle the ones who caused this. The captains figure they ain't got no excuses and ready to follow the prince's orders. Carmen's thinking about what to do with the offenders. Watching this unfold, the heroine realizes it's a real mess. War's coming and soldiers are brawling. The crown prince is acting as emperor now, but instead of harsh punishment or tightening discipline, he's just watching. Truth is, Carmen's always been like this. Even when his men went rogue, he just gave them a warning. A ruler can't be all tough all the time, but going too soft is a no-go. He's got to keep his authority strong. Trying to figure it out, the heroine can't get a grip on the crown prince's plan. Out of nowhere, she feels his eyes lock onto her and glances up, confused. The prince slams his palm on the table and declares, "These troublemakers are under Leon's command now. They'll help her with her tasks, since she's the one who pushed for the knights to rest. Now it's her turn to take a break. Let them do her work." This decision burns Stan's pride. He'd rather get demoted than act like Leon's servant. The prince laughs. This knight clearly doesn't understand what he messed up. Leon begs Carmen to rethink it. She's just a servant, not a commander. The crown prince shrugs. Don't worry. As commander, I'm stripping both of their titles right now. He hands Leon the reins and warns, they're your responsibility. If they misbehave, you'll answer for it. Carmine whispers, it's a temporary request. Just needs to distract them so they don't get in the way until they reach the count. The crown prince asks Casey and Stan if they'll obey his orders or leave the army immediately. Casey immediately agrees and promises to always follow his highness. Stan pauses for a moment, then says he's ready to accept the decision. Back in the tent, Carmine orders the captains to assign acting deputies and check how many are injured in the unit. Leon steps forward and asks him to hold on a second. Despite the commotion, she offers to prepare dinner as planned. Part of it's already cooking, and soldier morale is a problem. To the group's surprise, Carmine says plans haven't changed, and Leon thanks him. With the beaten-up Casey and Stan, Leon heads to Noel to deliver the prince's order. Now Leon has to deal with those two big guys. Thinking about what to do with them, she initially considers giving them real grueling work. But she quickly dismisses the idea. Making knights do unfamiliar work would just add more trouble. Leon needs to keep the guys busy enough to exhaust them. Then they won't cause trouble. Leon declares the knights are under her command from now on and must obey her. She says His Highness entrusted her with their future and told her to keep an eye on them for now. If she says everything's good, the prince will let them back into the ranks. Casey's ready to do whatever Leon orders. Then the heroine tells them to go hunting and gives them exactly 2 hours. The guy's catch will be dinner for the knights and His Highness, who, by the way, loves rabbit. Stan's upset and doesn't get why he has to do this. Leon explains the prince ordered a fancy dinner today, but because of their fight, all the food ended up on the ground. Not hiding his irritation, Stan agrees to bring the game and heads into the woods. The heroine reminds them she'll check the game in 2 hours. If everything's good, the knights can return to the unit faster. Casey is in a hurry to hunt too, but Leon holds him back to find out why they fought with Stan. Obviously, the guy doesn't want to answer that question. To get info out of him, the girl plays it tricky and says His Highness is really upset about what happened. She says even though the prince doesn't show it, he trusts his soldiers, especially Mr. Casey. Now, he's probably feeling betrayed by his loyal knight, who apparently struck first. The heroine insists the Casey she knows wouldn't swing fists without reason, so the opponent must have provoked him. Giving in to the provocation, the knight confesses Stan was spouting nonsense about the prince not being the emperor's real son. Casey realizes too late and asks Leona to keep it under wraps. Stan might not watch his mouth, but he's a solid guy, a real soldier, loyal and honest, so it's probably tough for him to accept His Highness. They were really close back when the old crown prince was around. He took the sudden loss of his former lord pretty hard. Carmine stepped right into his brother's shoes, and everyone respects him. Stan's definitely confused, but Casey's sure everything will work out. His Highness won over the guys who'd been under the old crown prince for years. Yeah, the old lord was a good man, but even Stan'll come around. The current heir's got something special. Right after the chat, Casey took off and came back with 3 rabbits and a boar. Stan bagged 2 deer. By the time sunset rolled in, the 2 groups who'd been strangers came together, drawn in by the smell of roasting meat. The camp, once frozen in place, was buzzing again. Tensions from the fight faded, and His Highness was savoring some rabbit. But during dinner, Leona catches Stan heading off without even touching his food. She follows him and finds him drilling in a clearing nearby. He got the nickname Crazy Fencer for his obsession with swordplay. At his age, he's already a standout as Messiah's deputy. It's weird he's got it out for the crown prince. Could be he's the one who took that contract. The heroine decides to keep a close watch. 9 more days pass. The closer they get to the northern border, the colder it gets. Luckily, the prince kept his word. giving the troops rest and a good dinner every 3 days. The march stayed smooth. On their days off, Leon would send Stan and Casey out to hunt. Eventually, they started coming to her for orders on their own. Today, she gives them just an hour and tosses them scarves so the nights don't freeze. Casey wraps up right away and thanks her for the thoughtfulness. Stan refuses to put on the scarf, saying cold's nothing for a soldier. Leon watches them go, hoping everything goes smoothly and they don't freeze. Meanwhile, another war council is underway in the Crown Prince's tent. The prince receives a report from a messenger sent to Goyard. The unit plans to reach there in 2 days. They need to send messengers to the Count ASAP to be ready to move out to the camp instantly. The report says the Katago tribe, 10,000 warriors, has already reached Tagoya Forest, and 6,000 soldiers are assembled in Goyard. The captains think they've got no shot and need to ask other lords for help, but Carmine disagrees. He didn't choose Tagoya Forest as the main battlefield by accident. The Katago rely too much on cavalry. In the forest, horses can't move fast and become useless. The Imperial Army uses the terrain to wipe out the enemy. Leon walks in with a warm cloak for the prince. It's freezing today. Carmine refuses to put it on, saying he's not that sensitive to cold. The Crown Prince finally snaps. Leon pretends not to hear anything, blaming the heavy cloak. The captains are stunned to see Carmine meekly letting the girl help him dress. When the prince asks why Leon didn't assign the heavy lifting to the knights he gave her, she says she sent them on a hunt. She says she couldn't make the 2 noble knights handle her stuff, especially since they're still sorry about what went down. Casey, figuring out what the prince likes, starts bringing rabbits every time. Stan trains alone every night, so Leon pleads with the prince to cool off. After the set hour, Casey returns with the catch, but for some reason, he's alone. A little while later, Stan shows up, drenched and clearly annoyed. Leon doesn't care he came back empty-handed. She tells the knight to dry off fast and get some medicine from the medic, just in case. That same night, Leon heads to the New Moon Unit's camp. She checks with the medic and learns Stan never showed up. So Leon decides to bring the medicine to Stan herself. Deputy Jonathan steps out to meet Leon and find out why she's here. Leon says she was worried about Stan's health and asks to be shown where he's staying. She doesn't wait for an invitation. Leon flings open the tent flaps and walks inside. Stan's lying inside, drenched in sweat, unconscious. Girl rushes to him, confirms her hunch, Sir's burning up, then barks orders for water and medicine. She tells the knights to grab a towel, basin, and fetch the medic. Leon growls at the frozen soldiers by the tent flap. Move your butts! A few minutes later, she tells Stan to sit up. Meds time. Knight's all confused as something drips into his mouth. Weird noise buzzing around. Opens his eyes, surprised to see Leon crouched over him. Stan's thinking this has to be a dream. He'd been such an ass to her, yet here she is, desperately trying to save his ass. Medic shows up, declares the knight got proper care. Should be fine in a day. Captain Makia storms in, wants to know what the hell's going on. Barks for someone to explain what the heck happened and why this girl's here. Jonathan spills the whole story. Captain's actually floored by how Leon's been taking care of Stan. Girl spots Makia by the tent, spins around, no damn way! Then, out of nowhere, she asks for permission to let Sir Stan crash in her bed for the night. Leon backtracks, explains Stan needs proper rest, moving him to her wagon's the only way he'll get comfortable. After getting Stan settled, Jonathan thanks the girl for her help and offers her a space in their camp for the night. She declines, saying there's plenty of places to crash in this big forest, and she knows where she's going. So Leon grabs a warm blanket and heads to Necha. Leaning into the horse, she notices it's actually warmer than the wagon. Carmine, once again battling insomnia, heads out of his tent and walks to the river. Usually when he can't sleep, he gets up to kill time by taking care of Nacha. But when he gets to the horse this time, the prince catches Leon asleep right next to him. Nacha makes it clear to his rider to leave and not wake her up. Carmine's shocked by Nacha's audacity. He's usually all over him begging for treats. At first, he considers waking her up. But seeing how peaceful she is, he decides against it. As he heads back, the prince finds himself wondering why he suddenly held his breath at the sight of her. The next morning, Stan finally comes to after a rough night. He sits up, trying to figure out where he is. And Jonathan tells him they're in Leon's wagon. Since Stan doesn't remember a thing, his friend fills him in on what happened last night. Now he realizes it all actually happened and wasn't some dream. Just then, Leon steps into the carriage to check on the knight's health. Even though Jonathan had just asked Stan to be nicer to the girl, he's already giving off the don't want to talk vibes again. Leon ignores the attitude and tells the sick guy to stay put in the carriage today. She's planning to ride in a different carriage, but Stan won't hear of it. Leon smiles and reminds the knight he's under her orders now. Any refusal is a direct act of defiance. She heads off to brew tea for His Highness and orders Stan to get some proper rest. Stepping out of the carriage, Leon notices the new Moon Knights gathered around. They all greet her with respect, something that catches her off guard. After exchanging greetings with the soldiers, she carries the tea to the prince's tent. Since it's cold again today, she adds a splash of lemon to the drink. Leon doesn't forget the captains either, inviting them to join the morning tea. All this time, Leon's been offering tea to Mackie every day without fail. He always said no, until now, when he suddenly agrees. And so, just a day before arriving in Gord, the new Moon members finally accept Leon. Count Hunt stands at his castle gate, ready to greet the prince's approaching army. He bows respectfully to his highness and warmly welcomes him. The journey was surely exhausting. The Count eyes the crown prince, who he only caught a glimpse of from afar at the coronation, and feels the weight of his presence. Next, the prince is introduced to Lord Lloyd, who speaks for Count Bay and fights in his place. The Count's sickness is serious, and he's really kicking himself for not being able to join the battle. The prince tells Lloyd not to explain. He already knows the drill. Rulers break their promises, and the common folk pay the price. Count Bay reports that the crown prince's order to set up camp has been carried out. Hunt is surprised the prince wants to move out right away. He figured the troops would at least get a day's rest in his castle. Before the Count can finish, the prince turns his horse and rides out through the gates. Hunt sees the fire in the soldier's eyes and realizes Carmine's got the troops whipped into shape. Leon approaches the prince, hands him a water bottle, and suggests letting the troops at least take a swig before heading out. The Count's shocked they brought a woman to the battlefield. He figures she's the prince's concubine. The heroine catches his stare, turns around, and gives Hunt a greeting and a quick intro. The Tagoya Forest has been around forever, ringed by jagged mountain ranges. You can't get to the Empire's heart without going through it. But those ancient trees and tangled undergrowth make it a real pain to move through. The camp's close, but the path is brutal. The army only made it there after 3 hours of grinding. Finally reaching the camp, the soldiers start unpacking and spreading out supplies. Leon approaches the Count to confirm if they've prepared a tent for His Highness's guest, Mr. Jahan Gun. After checking everything's in order, the girl thanks Hunt for the hard work he did. Viscount Lloyd comes to the girl with a list of military supplies for the camp and says he needs a responsible person's signature. The heroine promises to check everything right away and leaves. Meanwhile, the Count scolds Lloyd for handing the list to a servant. Lloyd explains that when he asked who manages the camp supplies, they told him Leon's name. Lloyd heard the Crown Prince really trusts her because she handled the unit's internal affairs during the campaign and even got recognized in New Moon. Hearing rumors that the prince wouldn't have done so well without her, the men decide she's someone you don't cross. An hour later, at the Imperial Army's War Council, the Count reports to the Crown Prince about completing the order to destroy the bridge so the Kataka can't cross the river. Carmine asks the others to share their thoughts on how the enemy might alter their route now that the bridge is destroyed. Macchia figures the tribe will probably head upstream east to cross where the river's shallow. Glenn doesn't want to rule out that they might go west where the river's deeper, but narrower. Carmine agrees with both captains and proposes a third scenario. But the soldiers stand in silence, not knowing the answer. Sighing, the Crown Prince suggests the enemy army might split into two. For Catalog, this war is a power struggle. They've got 2 commanders, and they're figuring out who'll be the next leader. We can't rule out they might split forces, but whichever way they choose, the Empire's strategy stays the same. They'll strike from behind. After the council, the Crown Prince lets Stan and Casey return, just like he promised. When Leon walks up to the knights to congratulate them, she suddenly catches a weird smell. Casey says the prince ordered them to smear their clothes with wild animal poop to trick the enemy's horses. Talking to the soldiers, the heroine notices their moods shifted. Everyone's thinking about how crucial a good leader really is. At the meeting, the prince announced he's regrouped the shattered army from Walfa Fortress and got soldiers set up in ambush. He studied the terrain, picked prime positions, came up with a plan to neutralize the enemy's cavalry, and even rounded up extra troops for a rear attack. Leon suddenly notices Stan heading her way. Even though it's clearly tough for him to say, he thanks her for helping when she was sick. Then he suddenly snaps and tells her to stop wandering around without a purpose. Stan says if you're not careful here, you could get hurt, and that messes everything up for everyone. After saying that's all, the knight turns around and rushes off. Casey and Jonathan exchange confused glances, not getting what just went down.